The tax structure in India consists of two components, direct taxes and indirect taxes. Direct taxes are income tax, wealth tax and corporation tax, while indirect taxes consist of sales tax, excise duty, house property tax, etc. This tax structure was designed in 1935 under Government of India Act by British rulers. This tax structure was more or less continued in our constitution, which was designed in 1950. After that, there is no major change in this indirect tax structure, though the situations have drastically changed during the years. This tax structure, which was designed in 1935, is no more suitable for the situation in 2017. If you analyze the present tax structure, there are three major defects. One major defect is that India does not have a national market. Each movement of goods from one state or union territory to another state or union territory cost taxes, which are minimum 2%, but practically they are about 5%. Thus, movement of goods within India is not tax free, and India is not a national market so far as sales tax is concerned. Another problem arising out of this is cascading effect of taxes, and there are taxes on taxes which ultimately results in increased tax burden and increased prices of goods. The third problem in the present structure is plethora of taxes. There are numerous taxes imposed by various authorities due to which the compliance cost increases. The tax on services is imposed by central government, while tax on goods, sales tax on goods is imposed by state government. Over a period of time, the distinction between goods and services has become hazy in various situations like construction services, IPR services, etc., food related services and all. Due to this, there is overlapping of taxes between central government and state government. These are the defects which have created havoc to industry and business in India. Need was felt to overhaul this tax structure. Beginning was made by introducing Sen VAT in 1986 in excise and then later in service tax. VAT was introduced at state level in 2005. This somewhat eased the situation, but still the problems were not completely solved. Need was felt to completely overhaul the present tax structure. Hence, the idea of GST, that is Goods and Services Tax, was mooted first in 2004. This idea slowly got momentum, and the empowered committee was given the task of designing this GST. The first draft paper on the concept of GST was released in November 2009. After that, lot of discussions etc. took place, and ultimately now we can see that the bills relating to GST have been introduced in Parliament. Now it is only a matter of time by which the bills will be converted into acts and then rules and notifications will be issued. If all goes well, the GST will come into effect from 1st July 2017. The GST as is proposed is not a minor change from the existing tax structure. It is a complete overhaul of the present tax structure. It is a surgical strike, not only a minor operation. In GST, the three defects which are in the earlier system have been removed. One thing, GST ensures a national market, uniform national market through the mechanism of IGST, that is integrated GST. The mechanism of input tax credit has been designed to eliminate the effect of cascading taxes. With the introduction of GST, many cesses and other taxes are proposed to be removed so that this tax structure will be much simpler compared to the present tax structure. In the proposed GST, firstly, there will be hardly any distinction between goods and services. Whether you term an activity as goods or services, the same tax will be payable. Thus, the present problems arising due to distinction between goods and services will disappear. Another problem which we are facing at present is that India doesn't have a national market and each movement of goods from one state to another costs money. To avoid this concept, a concept of IGST, that is integrated GST, has been developed. This IGST will ensure seamless movement of goods from one state to another because IGST will be paid on movement of goods from one state to other and taxes and goods will move together. This will ensure seamless movement of goods and services. Through the mechanism of input tax credit, the cascading effect of taxes will be practically and almost wholly eliminated. Thus, GST will ensure seamless movement of goods and will remove all the defects which we are finding in the present tax system. The structure of GST is that if supply of goods and services takes place within the state or within the union territory, then what is payable is CGST, that is central GST, and SGST, that is state GST. If the transaction is in a union territory, then CGST will be payable to central government and union territory GST, that is UT GST, will be payable to union territory government. This is the way transactions will take place if the supply is within state or within union territory. If the supply of goods or services takes place in interstate transaction, that is from one state to other or from one state to another union territory or from one union territory to state, then the tax which will be payable is IGST, that is integrated GST. This integrated GST will be double the CGST rate. This IGST will go to central government and this will ensure that when the goods or services move from one state to other, the IGST will move along with the goods and services. For example, if goods go from Delhi to Haryana, IGST will be payable in Delhi and its credit will be available in Haryana. Thus, goods and services will move along with the taxes. This is the most beautiful part of IGST. IGST is a unique concept which has been developed in India. We have not copied this concept of IGST from anywhere else. It is a unique Indian concept and this GST concept will mainly succeed only because of the concept of IGST. IGST will ensure seamless movement of goods from one state to other. And the input tax credit will be available of all the taxes. Of course, there are some restrictions, but whether you pay IGST, CGST, SGST or Union Territory GST, its input tax credit will be available for payment of output taxes. This will avoid cascading effect of taxes. Another unique feature of Indian GST is the concept of sale of goods has been changed to supply of goods and services. This is not a minor change. when you change the concept from sale to supply, the whole structure of the tax changes, because for sale consideration is required while transfer of property is required. But when you term the tax as supply of goods and services, then consideration is not required, transfer of property is not required, and the whole tax structure changes. Thus, IGST will be payable when you make a branch transfer or stock transfer from one state to another. This again is to ensure that taxes and goods will move together. This will ensure that there is no cascading effect of taxes, and there will be simplification of taxes. Another unique feature of GST, which is unique so far as India is concerned, is that the input tax credit will be given through a mechanism of matching of input invoices with the invoices or goods received by the supplier. It is expected that about 300 crores of invoice, that is 3 billion invoices, will be raised in a month, and details of these 3 billion invoices or 300 crore invoices will be uploaded by suppliers all over India on a common portal which is developed by GSTN. This GSTN network will analyze these 300 crore invoices, and this will be supplied to various recipients of the goods and services, and the credit will be given on the basis of matching of invoices raised by the supplier and invoices received by the supplier. The matching of invoices at such a grand scale has nowhere else been tried in the world, and this concept of matching of invoices will ensure that bogus invoices and bogus input tax credits are not taken by any supplier. Another advantage of uploading all these invoices on the GSTN network is that government will have data of all sales and purchases that are taking place in India. Thus, suppressing turnover of goods and services is going to be much more difficult than what is today, because as on today each invoice is not uploaded on the GSTN network, and that is why suppression of turnover is comparatively easy today, while suppression of turnover will be comparatively very difficult in GSTN, at least at the first 2 or 3 stages of supply of goods and services. After that, once the goods enter retail market, then the control will be difficult, but at least at the first 2-3 levels there will be proper control, and tax evasion will be much less compared to that is today. Thus, overall, the GSTN will improve the tax system, it will eliminate the cascading effect. It will also ensure that our exports are truly tax free. Under WTO, exports can be made tax free, but otherwise uh, other benefits, export benefits cannot be given. Today we are not able to make our exports completely tax free because of the complicated tax structure. The GSTN will ensure that our exports and supplies to SEZ will be completely tax free. Thus, GST is a completely game changer. If we summarize, what are the main game changers in GSTN which will completely and radically change the tax structure? First thing is the concept of IGST, that is integrated GST, which will ensure seamless movement of goods from one state to other, seamless movement of services from one state to another. Another key concept in our present GST as designed is the elimination of distinction between goods and services. This will eliminate major problems which industry is facing of today in tax compliances. The third radical change is the change from sale to supply. When you change the concept from sale to supply, the whole tax structure changes, and even free movement of goods or free supplies will now be subject to GST to ensure that goods and taxes move together. The very efficient input tax credit system through the mechanism of matching of invoices will ensure that there will be no bogus invoices, there will be no bogus credits, and at the same time the exports can be made completely tax free, supplies to SEZ can be made completely tax free. Cascading effect of taxes will be practically eliminated through the mechanism of input tax credit. Of course, there are some problems, there are some issues involved, but if we see overall picture, the GSTN is a game changer and it will completely revitalize and improve our present tax structure. The way of doing business will change. The distribution chain will be much more simple and much more cost effective than that is today. Today, if we want to distribute goods in 29 states, you require presence in 29 states because of the central sales tax. But under GST, the distribution network will be much more simpler. You will have to completely revamp your accounting system. You will have to completely revamp your purchasing policies. Unless you do that, you really cannot get benefit of the GST. The GST will improve the national GDP by at least 1% by this improvement in the movement of goods and radical or free movement of goods and efficient tax structure. Thus, GST is surely a beneficial legislation as far as India is concerned. We have got a concept of Gst Council which is supervising this GST structure. This again is a unique concept in India, and this GST Council consists of central government and state government. So far the GST Council has held some 14 meetings, and it is very heartening to note that all these 14 meetings, all the decisions were taken unanimously. There was no voting required in any of these decisions. This really shows that center and states can work together despite all political distinctions or political differences. GST Council has shown that India, despite the variety in culture, variety in thinking and variety in political situations, we can work together, we can work as a team if and when need arises. All compliments to GST Council on whatever they have done so far. They have shown give and take attitude, adjustment attitude. Central has shown lot of adjustments to states. States have also shown that they can have give and take policy and they can surrender some of their tax powers. This is again one of the most important aspects, that under GSTN both center and states have surrendered lot of their taxing powers to GST Council. This is something absolutely unexpected. Nobody expected that center and state will surrender their taxing powers to a common forum of GST Council consisting of center and states. This again is really a wonderful thing, and I am sure the way things are going, GST is going to be a bright star in India.